if you could go back, at any point in time, see how people were living.
Ooh.
It'd just be like an invisible, bulletproof bubble.
Yeah.
You could just exist and watch, and no one would know you were there.
Whoa.
That'd be fun. If you were like 1890s,
Danger.
just not the
No
racist
danger.
guy.
Or dinosaurs.
No danger. Yeah, whatever you want. Whatever you want.
1930s. No,
Fucking
see what
give me that
I would
baguette.
want Occupy Wall Street. I'd be like, this is so quaint. Little you guys
ready,
know what's.
kid. Soros
I'd
is
like to
well
have
planned
a
for
really
us.
good idea, but like, it seems like you're not doing a lot with it. You're just kind
I
of
would say
camping.
dark ages plague.
No, that'd be a nightmare.
I know.
Just
Bulletproof.
Street.
You just want to see it.
Right.
You're bulletproof in another universe. Okay, you exist in another dimension. You're in a dimensional sphere that's
Yeah.
allowing you to take place without.
You can't talk to
You
anybody,
can't
just
be
watch.
interacted with. Nothing can touch you. Impossible.
So you can't
you're,
fuck middle-aged whores?
No, you can't go nutty.
You know how
Can't
to
go
fuck 'em?
nutty. Can't go nutty. Middle-aged horses were 8 back then. Everybody died at 15.
Jack Cougar.
Everybody was dying. They were just dying left and right.
There's a book
out
called
there.
The Gillis I was looking at. It's fucking crazy. The King of England showered 3 times in 3 months.
Oh, my
and that was a
God.
scandal. Everyone was like, this motherfucker.
Is using up the water.
He thinks he is something else. dude.
Right.
Oh, my
no one
God.
showered. It was rare to change your clothes once a year.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's what they
shower.
said about the Mongols, that their clothes, because there was animal
made out of, like,
skins.
rats
They were
and shit.
literally, rats.
Living
they
in
would
them?
literally rot off of them.
Oh, my
Wow.
God.
Their
they were so
clothes
fucking
were like
mad.
rotting off of them. There's 2 I would go there.
Like
I would
Lady
want to
Gaga?
see Genghis Khan take over
That'd be
like
cool.
cities in
Sure.
China. I would like to see that.
I'd love to see somebody being at a Pol Pot village right before he comes. Shit like that.
God.
Yeah.
Imagine the pussy smell then. That's
Louis
wild.
XIV was terrified
Wow.
of bathing. He'd have taken only 3 baths in his life.
I thought it was in 3 months. That's
That's a different story.
way
Could
worse.
be a
Way
different
worse.
guy.
Oh,
Could be a different guy.
Way
Oh, it's probably
considerably
another
worse.
one. Louis took the trend for perfumery to new heights by
Is this the Sun King?
commissioning his perfumer to create a new scent for each day of the week.
Oh, hold on. This
Yeah.
part.
That's the bro. That's
what is it
actually
about?
like
They
the
thought
best
water
guy.
spread disease.
Oh, it was thought that water spread disease, so the less you bathed, the less vulnerable you were.
Which it probably did.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like pond.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bring
So
back-
getting into holes in the ground and not
Bro,
washing their
The
assholes.
cities were just
Same water.
everyone throwing their shit out of their fucking window.
right.
Dude.
No plumbing. Slaughterhouses everywhere. There's
Reading
blood
this book
everywhere.
that detailed, and people were like at the beginning of the turn of the century in America and what it was like in like the early 1900s in American
Oh,
cities.
yeah.
They couldn't get food up to them. It was horrible.
Yeah,
like
the
you
Dust
think
Bowl.
like Amazon's dropping off your produce? No, like back then, no one's dropping off jack shit. You're
Yeah.
living in the city. No one's growing anything.
That's it. It's
Terrible
like,
Check out
nutrition.
this is
Beast.
an article called "The Disgusting History of Royal Palaces."
Hell yeah.
Just the very like first thing, King
That's a-
Henry's court. They had
What
to
about
move because of so much human waste that was accumulating.
Oh,
So they keep moving.
they weren't just exercising.
Smooth got a new castle.
They actually escaped the disgusting messes large royal parties produced. Palaces like Henry's Hampton Court had to be constantly evacuated so they could be cleaned of the accumulated mounds of human waste. Livestock and farmland also needed time to recover after supplying food for so many people. Once the tour was over, Henry and a swelling court of over 1,000 would keep moving for the rest of the year, traveling frequently between the king's 60 residences in a vain attempt to live in hygienic surroundings. So he just kept shitting in all his different houses. He's the original
shit where you
shit
eat.
order.
He shit where he ate.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
I've been in there fucking eating poop for 12
Bro.
years. We got to.
Imagine these fucking
bladder.
people didn't know not to just shit in your house.
He's your hoarder. He just kept moving.
You don't want to go outside.
This room's done.
You go outside, you might get hit with an arrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Just shit in the palace.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
guy with an axe. There's
Yeah.
a million Jason Voorheeses outside. Everywhere you
Oh
look.
my God! The hallways would become so caked with grime and soot from constant fires that they were fairly black. The very crush of the court members was so dense that it made a thorough house cleaning impossible and futile. Though cleanliness standards were subpar throughout the medieval, Renaissance, and Regency eras, royal courts were typically dirtier than the average small cabin or home.
I'll
See-
be honest, Europe still fucking stinks, dude.
Does it?
I was just there last week. Those fucking people
Really?
stink.
None of the windows are. None of them
No,
are
we're fucking deodorant.
They got the
dude.
BO bad.
They
true.
call us fat, dude. They stink like shit. I
That's
don't care.
true.
They do stink a lot.
Oh, it's the worst.
I'm not doing great.
Are they noticeably fatter?
No.
No.
UK is catching up. Big
UK's got some.
UK's on our heels. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Fat.
They're
And
just 10 years, 20 years ahead of them.
They're
You know, all the
pasty.
fast food and shit.
They just got
They're
Doritos.
getting it.
They're gross, fat, like pasty.
There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
being pasty, red, and fat. Some people like it, dude. Some girls like it.
All right. But yeah, they said they had a company that would just move dead horses out on the road because horses would just die and you just leave it there. What are you gonna
Yeah.
push it in a dumpster?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Who paid for that? Taxes?
And
I
this horse
guess.
shit every year.
Oh, horse shit everywhere. But it's like an old car that just breaks down. You just leave it.
And by the way, imagine living in a whole city that's filled with people who took a fucking boat from Europe.
Everybody's a gambler, dude. Everyone's a gambler.
Those are wild.
Yeah.
Ellis
Yeah.
Island must
A
smell
boat that might
horrible.
not get.
Might not get there.
Just-
How much do you really know about what's over there?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Somebody lied to you at a bar in Ireland.
Dude.
the streets are paved
with gold.
man. Yeah.
I'm getting 15 gold pence a day.
And then you show up and you're like, what is this black
Son
guy?
of a bitch.
Who's
You
this?
show up and go,
What
hey,
is
you're
pollution?
going to fight in the Civil War. You
Yeah.
go, what the fuck is that?
Wait, we're in a war with Italians here?
Yeah, yeah.
Never meet them before.
You got to shoot at other Irish guys right over.
Weird.
Oh, yeah.
This-
The party, like, let's take a chance on a
Donner
different
party.
state.
Those are all dice, dude. We're
Christ,
headed
those
west.
people.
Yeah.
Grandpa just died just walking.
Should we go next year? We got to go this year.
There's something over there. Curiosity.
How many people had they two that made that journey before them?
Yeah.
Fucking
Was there anybody?
No, a couple. The one
Well,
guy was
yeah.
like, I know a better way.
the guide.
Oh, the guy
Yeah.
said, I know a
The
better
scam
way.
buddy.
You got to leave by March. And they're like, late May still works.
Yeah,
Oh,
pre-map
no.
quest.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
They just assumed it's
Really
over
a map
there.
quest.
They
Yeah.
heard.
Literally a map quest.
Literally
Yeah.
a map. They're trying
It's
to
a
make a
map
map. They're just guessing.
Yeah. They're kind of guessing.
They would eat like and shit.
Yeah.
Just boil a
And they were
shoe.
fucking the whole time.
Well,
In the back of those wagons. They were
Yeah.
all fucking. They would have kids.
They'd have
on the-
kids.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's nothing to do. You're just stuck in the back of a wagon with
They
a lady.
split up. The two parties had one fucking axe for firewood, and they were swinging it, and then the fucking axe flew off 200 yards into the snow, and they were like, we're all dead.
And find it?
It was gone.
what?
Yeah. They
they-
had to light lot of trees on fire, and
Wait,
that didn't
did
work
you
very long.
did you read that book Under the Indifferent Stars Above?
No, we were just nearby there.
Oh, really?
All the history's everywhere.
Bro,
They
that
found
is
when
so
they found like
terrifying.
snow. The snowdrifts were so 20 feet of snow. They would like the people, the rescue people found them. They would like look in the pit. They'd see someone just like
Yeah.
eating humans. Like they were like, oh, we gotta just cover this pit. This person's dead too.
Not to mention some fucking Choctaws coming in with a face paint and
some
hey, on a
bullshit
horse.
Chippewa.
Yeah.
No, they had a couple of Indian guides, and then they saw them looking at them like drunks in those cartoons.
Yeah.
You guys are on your own.
Sacagawea. Saclud.
Kind of hilarious how this conversation came about. You said you got a call from your publicist because your audiobook spiked.
It's crazy. It was like, what cosmic dust in the outer bands of Jupiter just did that? Because we didn't figure out what it was. It just spiked like crazy, went nuts. I think it went to number one briefly. But anyway, so we thought, what did that? Anyway.
And an Instagram post.
It was.
And
Yeah.
you were, my friend Steve Ranella wrote a book called American Buffalo. And I had put on Instagram how great the book was, and he did the audio version of it. And a friend of mine on Instagram, he goes by the name of the Jackalope. He's a fellow Hunter S. Thompson enthusiast. He said, you got to read this book. And so he tells me to read your book. And Empire of the Summer Moon.
Yeah,
that's how you say it?
yeah.
And it was amazing. I mean, he was absolutely right, and it was so good. And I made an Instagram post about that. There it is. Oh, we got a copy of it. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fantastic book. There's so much good stuff in there, and it was so sad and so gripping and so riveting. And we all know that a lot of horrific things happened in the time where the settlers started making their way across the plains and
Right.
headed west. But God, you just did such a fantastic job of sort of bringing it to life.
It's those things. It's brutal. It's sad. It's incredibly dramatic. I just think people forget about what the frontier was. It's kind of a nice idea that you get on TV or something, but it was a savage place. Anyway, I was trying to convey it with this, with the minimum possible of people being stanked out on ant hills with their eyelids cut off and things like that. So.
There was a lot of that, though, right?
There was a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean the horrors of it all. It's like, whew, and I'd never seen. I knew that kind of stuff had taken place, but I'd really never read it so graphically depicted before this book. What motivated you to write about all this?
So what this is a book about me. I'm a Connecticut Yankee, Massachusetts, Connecticut guy. I moved to Texas 25 years ago, and I've been there ever since. And I didn't know anything about Texas history, nothing. Beyond whatever you might know about the Alamo or something, or Sam Houston or somebody like that. And I got there and I just started to, hear about the Great Plains and what they were, which was an alien concept to me. I wasn't sure what the plains were or why they were different than some other part of the country, the high plains. And I came upon this idea that the last frontier was there, that this is where it all went down. This is where like the end of freedom and limitlessness. It didn't happen. The frontier didn't push forward until it got to California and then hit the ocean. California settled, the East settled, and then there was this one last place that did not. And it went on and there were reasons for that. One of which was the most hostile Indian tribes in the country. Another was that there was no water, wood, or there was basically only land, no water or timber. But so I got into this, and then, lo and behold, I find out because I live in Texas that there's this principle that lived on this land, the Comanches, that determined everything that happened in the American West around them. And that's not an exaggeration. They were, because until, the West wasn't won until they lost it. And that was for sure. And so there were two things. One, this arc of the rise and fall of the most powerful tribe, most influential tribe in American history, the Comanches, which was very cool, from the Spanish and the horse and all sorts of big stuff that goes on. And then in the middle of that story was this little story of this little 9-year-old girl with, blonde hair and cornflower blue eyes who gets taken in a Comanche raid in 1836, who ends up becoming the mother of the last and greatest chief of the Comanches. And in fact, her kidnapping and his surrender at the very end, the Comanches, sort of bookend a 40-year war. We never fought a 40-year war against anybody except them. So I ran into this story, and I'm just a kid from Connecticut, and it just seemed like the most obvious book in the world. It was just the coolest history.
It's an easy story, and I'd never heard of Cynthia Ann Parker before. Now we have her
on your
the
wall.
We have a giant metal picture of her on the wall. Because it was so powerful. Your depiction of it too. I wanted to find out what she looks like. And what is his name again?
So Quanah was the name.
This is
he
on
was
the cover of the book.
Right. Because his mother was Cynthia Ann Parker, which was not that didn't come out, and no one found out that until he was much older. So he was born Quanah as a Comanche. Later, in the reservation period, when people found out who he was, he identified as part of the Parker family also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he as a famous Comanche war chief, and he was one of the most famous and feared, he was Quanah.
It's a crazy story that they killed so many people, but occasionally they would keep people and bring them into the tribe.
So there were rules of the frontier at the time, and we were talking about how savage it was, and the rules of at least of the Plains Indians, of which Comanches were one, that if you were captured as an adult male, you were killed, tortured to death, either quickly or slowly, depending on how much time they had. If you were a baby, you were killed. They couldn't deal with the baby. They were nomads, and they were on their horse, and they were probably escaping from whatever raid they had just done. They couldn't deal with babies. A teenage girl or a young woman would possibly be killed, but likely turned into a slave. The ones who had a chance of being adopted into the tribe were the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, because Comanches had trouble keeping their numbers up, and so they instinctively they would take these captives, and not just from white people, from the Apaches and the Utes and the Navajos and whoever they might take them from. And so what was interesting about the frontier, though, is that those rules applied. So forget about white people arriving in the early 18th century for the moment. Those rules had applied to Indian tribes since forever. that was the assumption of a raid. They all had, it was almost like the golden rule in reverse, or the golden rule, do unto others. They all expected that kind of treatment. None of them were shocked when a baby was killed, a pregnant woman was killed. It took the kind of the Anglo-European civilization of, Newton and Leibniz and the biblical tradition to arrive on the Texas frontier in 1830 and be shocked at what they saw. Very interesting, very savage, very brutal. It was a culture of raiding, essentially.
And this is the Comanche culture in particular, or
the Comanche, Native Americans in general, Plains Indians in general, so Plains Indians, we could kind of start. You would know the names of a lot of them: Arapaho and Cheyenne and Sioux, and these were people who operated out in the great wide open. They were all masters of the horse. What made the Comanche special was that they became the preeminent horse tribe. People forget that there weren't any horses in the continent until the Spanish brought them in the 16th century, and so the tribes that got the horse and mastered the horse basically altered the entire balance of power on the plains. And the tribe that got the horse better than anybody else in terms of breaking and breeding and saddling and riding and stealing and hunting on the back of and fighting with were the Comanches, and nobody was their peer. And so this was not just a plains tribe; it was the preeminent power on the southern plains.
So, are you digging doing this podcast?
Are you kidding
History
me?
on Fire?
Oh, man, I'm loving it. I'm having fun. Well, let's put it that way. I love doing it. It's a royal pain in the ass, the research.
Well, your podcast, much like Dan one's, is very different. I always feel ashamed calling my podcast a podcast because it's just down to talk. But yours is like, it's an audio lesson on history. An in-depth audio lesson on like very extreme aspects of history.
Yeah, it gets... And that part I enjoy because the storytelling part is awesome. You get to spin a story, make it exciting, connect it with pop culture, do something that's fun. That's the part that I love. Is the month prior to that of just brutal research, just combing through boring historical book after boring historical book to find those little nuggets that are amazing.
Yeah.
And then spin it into a narrative. That's the part that gets a little old sometimes, where you're like, man, do I really need to read 200 hours of stuff for this one thing? It's like, that's a lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Now, when you do that, when you're combing over all these different history books and all these different papers written on various times, are you like extracting chunks and like putting them in Microsoft Word and then going over it, and then like do you form it? Well, my question is kind of like, do you form it as a script, or how much of it? So everything is completely written out.
No, not exactly, because otherwise then it sounds like you're a guy reading a thing and it's boring and it doesn't sound right. I just take super extensive notes, kind of like if you are to give a lecture that you've never given. You're not going to sit down and read it, but you are going to, you have something to keep you on track, to make sure it's like, oh, where am I going next? Okay, great, there's that thing. So it's as detailed as possible without turning it into a dry guy reading his page type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, history is such a fucking awesome subject because people are crazy. And throughout history, people have done so many crazy things that it's just, it's such a great thing to know. Like if you only had today, like if we only had our current era and we're looking around how fucking maniacal people are and how crazy the world is, we'd be like, God, how'd this happen? How did we get here? And then you just listen to your podcast and you go, oh, this shit's been going on forever.
Yeah, see it.
This is the good times.
Yes, you are wondering these good times.
And yes, it's to complain about. And yes, there's much we can do better, without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen. But this is as fucking good as it's ever been, by far.
Yeah. Human psyche is a very weird place because there's so much amazing stuff that humans do. There's just so much. And then there's the amount of horror that can be unleashed that has been unleashed throughout history by people against other people is just insane.
Yeah, what is, like, when you go back and you go over history, what is the most confusing or disturbing era?
To me, it's not so much a particular period, because the same patterns emerge a lot of the times at different point in time. Is more those moments, when mob mentality takes over. Because the reality is the average person is not... I don't have the word viewer. I think the average person is evil. I don't think that. I think the average person is weak, which means that when conditions where everybody's pushing in one direction, it's very easy to jump on the bandwagon. And in some cases, then a very ordinary human being can do horrible actions. You meet them for dinner and you think, a pleasant person, good enough, but you put them in the wrong context and everything turns to shit. I just finished now this 2-part series. That's probably the most disturbing. Now I want to do a podcast about flowers and puppies because this one was heavy, man. I did this series on kind of compare and contrast on the Sang massacre of the Cheyenne in Colorado in the 1860s, and then me in Vietnam in 1968. Actually, I split it because I did the Sun Creek, and I had this guy, Daryl Cooper, was the Martyr Made podcast. He's an amazing podcaster, and he covered My Lai. And then in the third episode, we're going to sit down and kind of chat. What does this all mean about the human nature? The reason why that particular story, those two stories interest me is because it's a brutal massacre of civilians, but in both cases, there are soldiers who refuse to participate or actually try to stop it. They are not the majority, they are a minority, but they are there and they try. So it's not just a story of people doing ugly stuff. It's like, what is that make one guy when order, hey, go shoot that 3-year-old, one guy goes, yes, sir, and does it, and the next guy goes, no, that's not who we are, screw you, I'm not doing that. That's what interests me. It's like the individual element of what make people in the exact same circumstances, one person go down a really dark path and somebody else instead having the balls to say, no, that's not who I am, that's not what we do.
Native American massacre, how many people were the ones that refused? Because you never hear about that. All you hear about is the horrific actions of the soldiers.
Yeah, and which was the majority, but there was also, there was this one guy, what's the guy name? Silas Soul. He was talk about a guy with balls of iron, because the guy, he and a couple other officers refused to let the men under them because they were divided in different companies. So their companies, they say, no, we're not participating. This is just straight up slaughter. These guys are not even our real targets. These are a bunch of civilians. So they refused, and then Saul testified against his commander at the inquiry, and then he was promptly murdered shortly after that.
Wow.
So it's a crazy story. But still to this day, there are people from the Cheyenne tribe who every year they have a ceremony for Silas Saul because they say, had it not been for him, a lot more of us have died on that day. And he did a really brave thing and paid a price for it. So, if you're looking for heroism, you can do a lot worse than look at this guy's story, because that guy was seriously, stand up for his conviction under the most extreme circumstances. So can't help but admire that.
Yeah, it had to be incredibly difficult to just imagine what those people were doing. I mean, when you hear some of the accounts of the slaughters of Native Americans, it's just terrifying that people can just look at someone and just decide that's not a person, or that's not us, this is the other, they've got to be eliminated, so we're just going to kill all these kids, we're going to kill all these women.
Yep.
And it happened all over the country. I mean, there's two things that happen to Native Americans. One, the big one, is disease.
Sure.
And wasn't on purpose. There's this big myth that people put they put smallpox in blankets, and that's all bullshit, right? It's pretty much been proven that they didn't really understand bacteria or diseases.
There's one story that's possible is not a one thing because initially nobody understood bacterial disease, or the first 100+ years, completely unintentional. There's one tale about the French and Indian War where during a break the British are talking about it, saying, one of the commanders saying, hey, maybe we should give them some blankets from the smallpox hospital. But, while we do know that he suggested it, we have no proof whatsoever that it was actually done. So
that's probably how the rumor got started, right?
Probably.
But in most cases, what happened is just that the Europeans came over and just inadvertently introduced Native Americans diseases, and 90% of them were wiped out.
Yeah.
That's a crazy number if you really stop and think about it.
Yeah. It's considered probably the most dramatic demographic disaster in human history, because, never you had a situation where a whole continent was not exposed to a series of diseases. And so, of course, there's no immunity. The first time they're exposed, you don't even have smallpox. You can sneeze on somebody, and the next day half the village had,
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing that if a group of people just has not come in contact with something that other people come in contact with all the time, and just, we got a cold, you'd be fine, just have some chicken soup, take a nap. Meanwhile, these people are just dead.
That's
It just
probably
kills them off.
Probably why aliens don't show up. It's like those mothers are dirty. If
Maybe.
we show up, they sneeze on us, and our whole planet will die.
Or the opposite, they know they'll kill us.
Exactly.
Maybe they have like some super advanced diseases.
That's the other possibility.
Yeah. I guess it's just a immune system thing, right? If your immune system's not prepared for it.
That's how it is.
There's a great book by a guy named Dan Flores. Well, he wrote two, but one of them actually it was a paper that he wrote about the buffalo. And he's saying that it's really interesting because he compares the initial encounters that European settlers had and European travelers had before the Native Americans were wiped out. And they talk about how many animals were on the plains, and they make a direct account of it.
Yeah.
And then after the Europeans had come and 90% of the Native Americans had been wiped out, that's when the buffalo population increase goes through the roof. And you're seeing these gigantic packs of it wouldn't be packs, herds, I guess, of millions and millions of buffalo. And he said that's directly attributed to the lack of predators,
Of course.
which means lack of Native Americans, because they were preying on these buffalo.
Of course. Great.
Wasn't it interesting when he talked about all of the people that were kidnapped by Native Americans that chose to live with them?
Yep.
And then when they were taken back by the Americans, by the settlers, they were like, fuck this, I'm going back. I'm going back to the Native Americans. And they went and lived with them again. But no one went the other way.
Not at all.
Which is really crazy.
Say something not flattering about the Euro-American culture of the time. Yeah, there's a great Benjamin Franklin quote. I'm going to butcher because I only remember the beginning. Something about no European who has tasted savage life and then basically can bear to come back to live in our settlements or something like that.
Yeah.
And that says something about...
Because it's...
Yeah.
The way they're living, they're camping,
right?
They're hunting and fishing every day, and you go back, and these assholes are wearing powdered wigs and banging a wooden mallet on a table for everybody to pay attention. Fuck off.
Exactly. It's hilarious. But that's...
Hear ye.
That's what I mean about cultures, right? People sometimes will then romanticize native cultures as like, oh, they're all, hug trees and talking with the furry creatures of the forest. And I'm like, well, yes and no. There are, like what you mentioned, right? If you are captured, especially when like French and Indian War or stuff like that were going on, if you are captured during a native raid, one of two things happen. Good one is that they like you and they decide to adopt you. And then you end up replacing one of their dead family members. So like if they lost a brother or a father, and you become that person for
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's a weird thing that
it's very weird. But the thing is, the adoption process was so thorough that they love you like you're the real deal. And you end up feeling like you're part of this family. And, everything works out. Everything is great. If they don't like you, then they torture you to death over a 3-day period. And so it's and these are the same people, right? So they can be the sweetest, most awesome humans or really messed up. Same culture, same individuals.
Do you think that's just because people have evolved dealing with tribal warfare and just we have to have that switch?
I think is because the thing that's interesting natives is that it wasn't a racial thing. They adopted anybody, right? Either what skin color you have, that they did not have a barrier to. There is a big insider-outsider. If you are part of our tribe, and you may become part of our tribe, race doesn't matter. You can become part of our tribe, but once you're part of our tribe, you're one of us. But if you're not part of our tribe, then, the same rules do not apply to you. You are the other. You are an enemy. You are, and in that case, that's when it gets really brutal.
Yeah, even with other Native Americans, that's the thing that people need to really get in. Like especially people that only have a peripheral understanding of Native American culture. Like the reason why Sioux are called Sioux is because that's a Native American word for enemy.
Yep.
They call themselves the Lakota people. All the other Indians were like, fuck these crazy assholes. They're taking over. They're the enemy.
Yeah, totally.
We're just dominating. Yeah. It's really fascinating when you consider that these people had these hunting grounds that they were trying to protect. And one of the things that they found is that there are areas where wildlife thrived. And the wildlife thrived in these like gray areas. Yep. Because like this one area would be, one Native American tribe, and then their hunting grounds went to a specified distance.
Yep.
Obviously always in conflict. But then past that was another Native American tribes. But in the middle, that's where you'd find all the fucking animals.
Of course.
Because they were like, I get it.
They are worried about killing each other in the
Yeah.
danger zone. So no, totally. That's
It's
how
crazy.
It
That just really stretches your mind and your imagination to imagine living like that back then, and that these people, while Rome was being built, the Colosseum, Europe, all these different places of the world, these people were living the same way people lived tens of thousands of years ago, right here.
It's crazy, and now it seems like we're so far removed from it, but yet as we talk about it, that romance hadn't left, and even getting a chance to chase a bull elk. There's some amazing rural wild places out there where you can kind of revisit. And that was the first thing I noticed is all the Native American pictures you had. I hunt a lot with Native Americans, a lot with the Navajo, and I've become like family, or they become like family to me. I go out there every year. The resources they have. I know Cam hunts a lot. I was at the Muscalero and different places. And I don't know, man. And even sadly, even amongst the natives, some of that culture is being lost with them more. And so we even go out every year and do a hunt with their kids. We take 15 to 20 Navajo youth hunting every year out there with the Navajo Game and Fish. And they have a lot of mentors. Gloria Tom, who she's just stepping down, but she was the kind of in charge out there. We would go and work with people like Jeff Cole and that whole Navajo Nation, the families, and we'd take just their kids, the kids of the Navajo Nation hunting. Sadly enough, they're like a lot of kids in America eating Little Debbie's and Flixbox, It's like, man, you got 17 million acres in your backyard. Come on, bro. You're supposed to be the damn eagle.
Right.
You got to fly and dip down. And we got, I'm even out here, it's your room, and me too. I have all kind of Native Americans. My heroes were Native American hunters, like Ishi, who taught Pope and Young how to bow hunt. He's who got
really?
him. Yeah, Ishi out of California. I think he come back and he basically taught those guys who were doctors. He introduced them to bow hunting. And then Pope and Young, as we kill an elk, we think, oh, is he big enough to go Pope and Young?
Right. Explain what Pope and Young is for people who don't know what we're talking about.
Pope and Young is, so basically Pope and Young were two guys that basically just kind of revolutionized archery as we know it a lot of times. I mean, obviously, you throwing around names, you got to talk about Fred Bear and stuff like that. But prior to that, there was an Indian named out of a California tribe, and I'm not good enough at remembering exactly what tribe that was, but there's a lot of cool information that you can read. Obviously, if you ever get your hands on Saxton Pope and Arthur any books, it's fascinating. Like my favorite book of all time is called The Adventurous Bowman. A friend of mine, Jeff Johnson, who's a writer, gave it to me, and I read it all the time. And even my kid, I read him that book at night, and it talks about first venture into Africa and when they went there, when they hunted grizzly, when they hunted elk the first time. And so these guys were kind of what I can assume seemed to be pretty much city slickers who had basically a patient called Ishi who taught them how to hunt. And pictures of him, you can still see him. He looks like he's dressed at a Ted Nugent concert in 1969, jumping off the amps. And so now that's become similar to Boone and Crockett. Pope and Young is an organization that's formed around, celebrating certain animals that are trophy aspect. And if you get a tail deer that nets 125 inches on the Pope and Young scale, you can enter them into the Pope and Young record books. And every category of species, like elk, bear, caribou, moose, so on and so forth, has that. And so it's kind of to celebrate a lot of the heritage of archery. And so Pope and Young, a lot of people don't know it, but that basically is the basis of come from. But it starts back to, guess what? A Native American, these arrowheads, they passed it on. And so now we're kind of carrying on that same tradition. And so as a student of the game, it's so cool to talk about oh, look at that. Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
That's cool. Is there any, can you find, Jamie, is that Ishi? That's Hall of
Ishi
Fame?
and Saxton Pope right there.
There's Ishi there.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
So
look at that.
You're learning from the source.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many amazing stories.
What year was this? What year was this?
Man, I don't even know. It had to have been in the, I don't know, was it 20s? Or maybe 1900. I know it was early.
You know what's fascinating when you think of what we enjoy? We enjoy archery. 1912. So that guy, that is like he was alive in the 1800s.
Absolutely.
So he was doing that. Like that's literally from the source.
And there's another thing, and it's another thing I read and heard told, because obviously, you travel around and it's always trying to figure out, what's fact or fiction. I'd listened to Casey Means on this podcast, we're talking about our food. Supposedly, Ishi, who come in, who was actually living very primitive, but come in, and once he started hanging around and got westernized, quickly got fat because I don't know if Little Debbie's is around.
No.
It's the only thing I hated about the whole Casey Means, that whole podcast. I was like, man, I used to love a good oatmeal pie. Now I'm sitting there like, I don't know, that glass of should I even partake? But I think he gained a lot of weight and started getting a lot sicker.
And the food then was so much better than the food we have now.
Yeah. Just a lot of people, and all of a sudden he would fight probably viruses and diseases and getting an abundance of a certain food he wasn't used to. And supposedly I think he got a little hair and less healthy just being around.
Probably a lot of grains and sugar.
Probably, I'm sure.
Yeah. He's probably mostly meat before that.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Just a fish out creek and backstrap out of a mule deer.
Way everybody did for thousands of years.
Yep.
It's just so interesting that if it wasn't for guys like Pope and Young and Fred Bear, I mean, how many people were evangelizing bow hunting back then? I mean, how many people were making it something that was, because as soon as rifles came along, the way everybody looked at it was, rifles are better. You can shoot something further. It's easier to do. You hunt with rifles. But to make that choice, this decision that there's something more connected, more spiritual about archery and bow hunting, if it wasn't for those people that were promoting it, people like Fred Bear, who was so articulate in the way he would describe things and the way he would describe the benefits of just archery practice, about how archery just removes your cares.
Yeah.
Like if you could just concentrate on that target and just practice archery, it cleans your mind. And I find that today.
I do. It's almost like you go back in time every time, even though we pick up, these new Hoyt bows, you're like, oh my God, look at the technology.
It's a lot more accurate.
It's so much more accurate. And so, it's amazing, and you're just exactly right. It is spiritual, and to think back of where it was to where it is, but then you think about the rifles and the technology we have there. But keep in mind, I'm sure, in those people who are really hunting for substance, absolutely. If we leave tomorrow and we can't go and get us a steak dinner, or we can't go to the grocery store and buy us some chicken or ribeye, whatever it is we decide to eat, well, absolutely. If we're like, hey, Joe, your wife and my wife is wanting us to kill a few squirrels, and we're going to have squirrels and gravy, and my wife makes some good biscuits. It's like, let's leave the Hoyts at home. Let's take a 22 and a 410. Let's just go get us a squirrel.
Yeah.
And so I think probably they looked at it that way, and once that came about, and then it slowly becomes somewhat of a, I hate to even say it as a sport, because I don't look at it as a sport. It's a culture.
It's a discipline.
It's a discipline. But I think to know that we're still going back celebrating that and still talking about Ishi and Pope and Young and the Fred Bears and what they set forth, and even people like Chuck Adams, who was always one of my heroes.
The original compound, look at that, up to 50% more speed and penetration.
And that was 66. So I felt like this would have been in the, because I
66.
Because I feel like
wow, that's wild. Price so low, hunters can't afford to be without one. The way they used to market things back then is so funny.
I know. I love to see those old Field and Stream and Out magazines.
Yeah, it's just, it's a window into a different time.
Look at that. Can you imagine taking that to Utah to chase an elk in the mountains?
Oh my God, you'd have to be so close.
Cameron wouldn't have to tote out a buck on his shoulder, just tote that around, probably be as heavy as a whitetail.
How heavy is that thing? Look at the metal.
Telling. All the components and all cables.
What kind of feet per second getting out of that sucker?
What
is this?
Oh, look at this.
Arthur Young, bow hunting.
It's a grizzly here. They said it's a grizzly.
Oh, wow.
That's super close.
Holy cow. I've never seen this, Jamie. Wow. Thanks for pulling this. This is so cool.
1926.
Holy smokes. I bet they didn't even have to buy a license. I bet they just went hunting, too.
Oh, yeah. I bet there was no licenses back then. I mean, when did they...
All right, he hit him somewhere.
Yeah, it shows, it follows it up here. But I mean, to film this is easy because this is 1926. So.
Right.
Wow.
You had to be so close with that shitty bow.
No doubt. And man, I tell you what, man, intriguing. Those guys right there, their books that they wrote, if you wrote those same books now, like if you and I went on a hunt and, hey, let's just write an article and present it to Outdoor Life and publish it just as we saw it, which is so cool about what we do here is having a chance conversation and kind of air out anything and everything. And obviously, culture has changed the world. I mean, these podcasts. But back then, you had articles. Well, they'd write these books, and it would be so, like, I would read it sometimes the same 2 or 3 times. It'd be like, Saxon Pope talking about, or Arthur Young talking, yes, I found out. I think it's too far. 70 yards is too far to shoot at a Cape Buffalo. I put 3 arrows in him. He didn't seem hurt. I got 2 in the rump, 1 in the neck. And you're like they didn't edit this out. It's almost like
right.
It's almost like me and you hunting squirrel. Like, man, I tell you what, I don't like them pellets. It's just not.
Yeah.
Those pellets in that air rifle are not. They're just not squirrels down good enough. Like, oh, you wasn't supposed to put that. Can you edit that out?
Right.
They would just like, okay, let's put this in a book and let's sell it.
Well, they were pioneers. Kids died a lot back then. They died from injury and sickness, and a lot of people died from sickness. No vaccines.
Right.
When you're just at the mercy. And then also, it's the beginning of agriculture. So all these diseases are emerging that we don't have immune systems for because they're being jumped from, like, they're jumping from pigs to people. They're jumping from chickens and birds to people. That's where the source of most of these pandemic diseases come from. It comes from large-scale agriculture.
Yeah.
Those funky pigs all tucked together in these little cages. That doesn't come for free.
Yeah.
Like, there's some demons are being brewed in that mix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like this. What was the source of the Spanish flu, which I think was the most deadly epidemic in U.S. history?
Oh, is that right? It was international too, wasn't it?
It was international for sure. I think for sure it was the most deadly epidemic in the U.S. Yeah, but I think it came. I don't think it came from Spain. I want to say it came from somewhere around Virginia. Is that bullshit? This is going to take time.
Probably New Jersey.
I feel like it came from some sort of farm situation.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like I'm guessing that.
I'm surprised there's not more of that now because you see some of these like pig farms and they have lakes. There are lakes of waste.
Have you seen the drone footage? Is that what we're talking about?
No.
Oh my God! Some guy flew it. Because these ag gag laws, which apparently one of them just got shot down. Somebody sent me an email that maybe it was Idaho or Iowa, one of those places, one of those I states, that the ag gag laws got shut down. The ag gag laws are, say if you were working in a slaughterhouse and you saw horrific conditions, you got your cell phone out, you filmed it, you could get prosecuted. You would go to jail. You could be sued.
Because of Food Inc. and all those documentaries that came out.
Well, I think those ag gag laws existed as soon as they figured out that people could film things.
Yeah.
Because a few people released videos of her. And look, those ag gag laws kept people from talking about a lot of creepy shit like this video.
Yeah.
If you see this video, this guy decided, since no one's going to give him access to film the place openly, so he's going to fly over it. So he flew over it with a drone.
So this is the Spanish flu thing.
Okay. For many years, historians and epidemiologists hypothesized that the outbreak could have started in a British Army base in Étaples, France, or at Fort Riley in Kansas, where the first American cases of the new strain of flu were recorded in March of 1918. More recently, experts have proposed a third hypothesis. The Spanish flu originated somewhere in northern China in late 1917 and swiftly moved to Eastern Europe. Within 140,000 Chinese laborers and the French and British governments recruited to perform manual labor to free up the troops for wartime duty. Wow.
Yeah, I think more people died of that than died in World War I.
I think so.
50 million people were killed because of this.
Damn.
Whoa.
Just think about corpse disposal of 50 million people.
Look at it claiming. Look at this. It says claiming more lives in a single year than either the First World War or the 4-year Black Death bubonic plague outbreak that swept Europe and Asia in the Middle Ages.
Damn.
And this is one, for whatever reason, people talk about the plague. They talk about the bubonic plague, like everyone's heard, but no one talks about the Spanish flu. Like that's a rare. It doesn't get brought up that often. If you see this number of people dying, 50 million
50
people
million.
in a year. In a year, man.
People talk about how bad the
what they're
world is
saying?
right now, but
That's not what they're saying. They're saying it killed more lives in a single year than either the First World War or the 4-year-long Black Death.
It may have killed, and
May have killed.
1/3 of the population was sick with it. At least they didn't all die.
Problem is this, that if we have to view democratic socialism as a moment in the larger movement of democracy. My dear brother Jeff Stout, who's one of the great philosophers and thinkers of democracy, calls them egalitarian freedom traditions. And that's simply a way of saying that if you look at the world through the lens of the masses of people who are poor and working people, what are the conditions under which they can have security from domination? What are the conditions under which they can have dignity by holding forms of oppression at arm's length? You see? And for me, it's not an ism. You see, if capitalism vis-a-vis feudalism can generate liberties and freedoms, I'm for it. And that's precisely what the middle classes did when they broke from feudalism in Europe or broke from feudalism in other parts of the world, right? You had to overthrow kings and queens in the name of personal liberties. But those personal liberties were confined too often to white brothers with property. And the white brothers with no property, they're either trying to hold on to their whiteness so they become like the white brothers with property, or they make moral choices and said, I want to be a person of integrity. I want to fight with the folk who are being excluded. And this is one of the problems in talking about race and white supremacy in America, because, you see, we think too often in monolithic categories. There's never been a white supremacy without fighting against white supremacy, and that includes white brothers and sisters. There's a tradition from Ann Braden, from Miles Horton, of Highlander Center. You got that wonderful picture of Rosa Parks. She was at Highlander Center 4 months before she was arrested, before she sat down on a bus in order to stand up for justice, right there at Highlander Center under Miles Horton. Who was Miles Horton? A white brother who brought black folk and white folk together, went to Union Seminary, trained under Reinhold Niebuhr. He had cousins in the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow.
So his Thanksgiving dinners were very complicated. White brothers and sisters who fight against white supremacy.
Yeah.
Ann Braden, Rabbi Abraham Joshua, Heschel, Edward Said. You have a whole tradition of white brothers and sisters who've been fighting against white supremacy. You get it in the music. Bex Beiderbecke, he's sitting at the feet of Louis Armstrong, and he's a great artist. Louis is genius of geniuses, right? And that middle-class brother from Iowa, you ask him about white supremacy. You ask Brubeck about white supremacy. You ask any of the, Paul Desmond, all of these folk who are connected to traditions in which black humanity, brown humanity is seen and affirmed.
You have a point in the book, Race Matters, that resonated with me that I never really thought of before. And what you said was that because of the fact that the United States has this deep history of slavery and the slavery of African Americans, that white people became white people instead of Polish and German and Italian. Instead of it being like most other countries where the Italians think of themselves as Italians and the Greeks are the Greeks, those were white people. They're all they combine as white people. I never thought about that before.
No, but I mean, you've got these American studies. Nell Payne is one of the towering ones, but it goes all the way back to Brother Alexander and David Rodinger and some others who've been talking about the way in which whiteness was created. Take, for example, an Irish brother who goes to Ellis Island. His people have been dealing with 800 years of vicious British colonialism and imperialism, vicious attacks, various famines that were in some ways created or at least enabled and so on. They get to New York and they're told that they're white. And they say, no, because we know the British are white and we're not British.
Right.
At all.
At all.
But then they say, yes, you are. Look at Brother West. Look at Jamal. Look at Letitia. Where you going to go on the Jim Crow bus when you just get off the boat from Ireland?
Right.
If you go to the front, you with vanilla folk. You go to the back, you with the chocolate folk. What you going to do? And for our precious Jewish brothers and sisters, it was even more complicated.
More complicated, right?
Because they get there and they say, no, not with the Goy and we're not with the Gentiles. Y'all been oppressing us for 2,000 years. Pogroms, ghettos, Holocaust, vicious attacks, and so on. But then They get there and say, well, are we going to be in the back with the black folk? Some of them did. You see, because you got a rich tradition of progressive Jews. You see, Noam Chomsky would have got back there. Stanley Aronowitz would have got back there with the black folk. You see what I mean? But you got some other Jewish folk, like any other group. Well, we kind of lukewarm. Let's just kind of move back and forth. And then some of them want to assimilate completely, especially the highbrow German Jews. We're actually white as well as the Gentiles. You're in America now. Get beyond that old world prejudice. You say, well, you better check yourself, because every Christian civilization we know is shot through with Jewish hatred. Don't believe the hype. Sooner or later, it's going to be manifest. You see what I mean? And so in that way, you can see the discourse of whiteness, blackness, brownness, redness, and so forth becomes so deeply rooted in American law, American structures, American perceptions. And this is why the arts are so crucial, because it's primarily in the music and in the arts where the breakdown of white supremacy begins to take place in the country. It's not the politicians. It really isn't. It really isn't. It's no accident that the first massive form of entertainment in the United States is what? The minstrels and blackface. And you say, well, what was going on with blackface? Well, Eric Lott and others have talked about the love and theft. On the one hand, there's a fear of black freedom, because black freedom somehow means less freedom for whites. There's a fear of black creativity, because that means maybe white supremacy is a lie. Maybe they're human just like us. Maybe they're just as creative, imaginative, and intelligent just like us. Then they hear the music and they say, ooh, they got something going on the black side of town that we don't know. It's like you going to see Pryor, right? If somebody had told you, oh, Brother Joe, white supremacy America tells you that black creativity, black intelligence, black genius doesn't exist, and you go see Pryor with your parents and you go away thinking, this Negro's a genius. Somebody lied to me. I got to recognize that. And then you recognize, oh, there's a whole tradition of Pryor, and we can go on and on from the Coltrane to Sarah Vaughan and on and on and on, right? And so people begin to think, especially white brothers and sisters, our parents have been lying to us when it comes to black intelligence, imagination, and genius, and humanity. And yet the structures make it difficult for us to come together. We're talking about up until 1960. That's a long time, though. 1776 to 1964 and 5. That's a long time for both slavery and neo-slavery to be in place. And here we are now, 54 years later, trying to create a multiracial democracy, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's already been enacted in the jazz groups, Sly Stone's bands, multiracial. The comedies, the studying of the comedies that you all have. You sit down with comics, y'all talk about the genius across race and gender as if it's a natural thing. That already shatters the white supremacists and male supremacist categories of whiteness, blackness, all in different silos. But it's so hard to do it on the ground. See, part of the problem of talking about race in America, that's why I've been very critical of a number of contemporary black intellectuals, because white supremacy cuts so deep in the culture, people begin to think it has magical powers, and somehow it just floats above American history as if it's just part of our DNA in a biological way. But all conceptions of race in the modern world are grounded in predatory capitalism. So that the talk about whiteness and blackness becomes a way of rationalizing social structures like slavery and Jim Crow. And it has to do with trying to extract labor, resources. It's an attack on their humanity and identity, but tied to economic structure. So to talk only about race means we hide and conceal the social structures that are generating unbelievable suffering for everybody. Everybody, you see. And so the last thing you want is to talk about race. I'd say the same thing about gender. In a way, gender is much more complicated because gender's been around for so long. Every culture that we know almost. But in modern conceptions of race are tied to modern conceptions of predatory capitalism here and abroad, which includes imperialism, which includes empires. So the United States comes out of the British Empire. We engage in a heroic, courageous revolt against the British Empire. It was a magnificent struggle. That's what I like about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, because I'm an anti-imperialist. They were anti-imperialists. Now, they're urban guerrillas. They picking up guns. They fighting. I don't go that far. But they're also white supremacists. You see, so as soon as they overthrow or push back the British Empire, what do you get in the Declaration of Independence? Beautiful words about equality, but you also get savages. We got to take their land. And you get an empire of liberty. This is where the comics come in. Yeah. What does an empire of liberty look like? Who's not in on the liberty? It's a whole lot of people not in on it.
Well, that was Carlin, right? Carlin had this bit about this country was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free.
That's right. And talk about the dream, you got to be.
Yeah. You got to dream to believe it.
You got to sleep.
Is there any evidence that there was other species of human beings that existed in the Americas? Like we're finding in Russia, and there's many of them that are being discovered all over the world now, these subspecies of human beings.
Yeah. This is an issue that I go into in America before. And what first drew me into it was Denisova Cave in Siberia. I think everybody's heard of the Neanderthals, and these days I think everybody's heard of the Denisovans as well.
A lot of people haven't.
I guess a lot of people haven't. But first of all, let's take the Neanderthals.
Okay.
For a long time, it was held that the Neanderthals were stupid, primitive subhumans, shambling, lacking symbolism. Turns out that that's not true at all. The latest scientific evidence on the Neanderthals is that they were symbolic creatures, that they did do art, that they were in every sense human, and they were in every sense human because anatomically modern humans interbred with Neanderthals. You can't interbreed with another species. They clearly were human beings, but they looked rather different from us. And that's why certain populations in the world today still have 3 to 5% of Neanderthal DNA. Then in Russia, in Denisova Cave, they find a single pinky bone from a little finger. And they do the DNA testing on it. They're able to get complete genome from it. And what they discover is this isn't a Neanderthal. This isn't an anatomically modern human being. This is another human species who they named the Denisovans. They think they're more closely related to Neanderthals than they are to anatomically modern humans, but they're clearly another human species. And they also interbred with anatomically modern humans. And Denisovan DNA survives, interestingly enough. It survives predominantly in Australasia, in Papua New Guinea and amongst Australian Aborigines. So as part of the research for this book, I went to Denisova Cave. I had an amazing, actually just incredible trip to Russia. I hadn't expected it to be like that at all. Siberia, I mean, America is vast, but my God, crossing Siberia, this is endless rolling plains, this just vast area.
How did you?
We took a car. You can't travel independently in Russia. It's very difficult. You have to get permission, and you have to state in advance where you're going to be stopping off at. So what I found, and I just did so through the internet, was a local guy called Sergei Kurgin, who had a little tour business in Siberia, in the city of Novosibirsk. I got in touch with him. He found a translator who would translate my emails, and I said, we want to make this journey to Denisova Cave. And can you set this up for us and get all the permissions? And he did. And so we flew into Novosibirsk. Sergei and his translator, who turned out to be a Russian student who spoke good English, joined us. And we did this immense journey across Siberia.
How long did it?
It took us 3 days to get to Denisova Cave. 3 days
driving every day.
3 days of driving every day. Some stopping off along the way. Incredible hospitality of the Russians that we were amongst. Very independent people who are living out there in the wilderness and who actually do know how to survive. It's the first time I've ever drunk milk fresh from the cow. Literally milked right out of the cow and poured down my throat.
How was it?
It was delicious. And the cream, I mean, thick cream. Very, so there was a lot of things about Russia that surprised me. Denisova Cave is a fascinating, beautiful place to visit. It's another example of a missing chapter in the human story that is beginning to be pieced together. It's obvious now that we were not alone, that there were multiple other human species who were human enough to interbreed with us and leave DNA.
And this Denisovan species discovered in, was it 2000 something?
Very recently, the 2000s.
Or something?
a very recent discovery. And
Did
it's
they leave behind art? Did they leave behind art?
Better than that, they left behind certain physical objects which are extremely hard to explain. One of them is a green stone bracelet. And that bracelet is in the torque, which was therefore slipped on sideways onto the hand. It's not a full ring. And a hole has been drilled through the bracelet, and from the hole it's been possible to reconstruct that a pendant was hung. Then the archaeologists, there it is, the archaeologists started to take a look in detail at the drill marks on that. They discovered was a huge anomaly, that was drilled with a stable, fixed drill, drilled at extremely high speed. This thought to be 40 or 50,000 years old. There is not supposed to have been any such technology in that period that was capable of drilling with a stable, fixed drill, and yet there it is, and there it appears. So there are also incredible, very fine needles, bone needles that the Denisovans made, very long ones, which suggest that they were stitching very heavy stuff together. And the suggestion has been, were they making skin boats, for example, to use to navigate? That would explain how they managed to get themselves to Australia, which is where the largest amount of Denisovan DNA survives today. There's one of those needles. So there are indications of strangely out of place Denisovans, which is 20, 30,000 years earlier in the human story than it should be. Those kind of needles, that kind of bracelet, you could expect to find them in what archaeologists call the Neolithic, but to find it in the Paleolithic is very thrilling and very odd, and it suggests that the Denisovans were certainly not shambling subhumans, that they were refined creatures.
Can you find out what year they discovered the Denisovans? Jamie, can you Google that real quick? I want to say it's in the 2000s, but I mean, imagine that human beings have been around for this long. Here we are in 2019, and within the last decade or so, they figured this out.
Yeah, we're discovering new stuff about ourselves. We're discovering that our story is much richer, much more textured, much more layered than we thought it was. It's a simple story. It's a very complicated story, and we ourselves are a hybrid species. We are the result of interactions with all kinds of different looking human beings, and the end result is ourselves. So it's not just that we carry Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA. In a sense, we are Neanderthals and Denisovans, and they are part of the anatomically modern human heritage. So you make a good point. The fact that this is only being discovered now, and that it's an incredibly important. I mean, it completely rewrites the story of our ancestry. The notion.
Says the 1970s.
1970s.
Okay.
The real work that's done in Denisova Cave has been done in the 2000s, from 2006, 2007 onwards.
Genetic examinations.
That's when the major papers have been
2008.
Been published, which have the genome of the Denisovans and revealed the Denisovan connection to anatomically modern humans. The fact that we're finding this out now, that we told the story of our past and weren't aware of this, raises the question, how much else in the story of our past is there that we're not aware of? Let's stop being so arrogant, so sure of ourselves, so confident in our findings. Let's be more tentative. Let's keep an open mind and see where it takes us. That's the main message that I have from all of this. And I think, I hope that this will be an effect of this book. I'm not kidding myself that the archaeologists are going to jump on board overnight, particularly so since I'm very critical of American archaeology in this book. And I'm critical of it specifically and explicitly because of the dominance of the Clovis first model for so long, which prevented other research taking
stuck in a Tulsi Gap the other night, and I went off on a rant to her about mental health asylums. I'm like, these people are everywhere on the streets now.
Yeah.
It's crazy people. And I mean, it's not a great thing to have them out. It's not good for them, and it's not good for everyone else. There used to be actual places. And the money that it would cost, I mean, that's a cost that people would get behind.
Yeah.
The things that we would pay for instead of the things that we are paying for, insane.
I think it happened during the Reagan administration. I think they changed like what it means to be a mentally ill person. They let a bunch of people out. Is that true? Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was during the Reagan. You know, Reagan was one of those Republicans that made people want to be a Democrat.
Oh, you know who I heard actually was behind JFK because he didn't like what happened to his sister.
How so?
They gave his sister the lobotomy.
Oh.
Yeah. And he turned against mental health institutions. I can't remember if it was.
They gave his sister lobotomy?
Oh, yeah. Bad one.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's like one of the big Kennedy.
Doing that in like the late 60s. They
Yeah.
did it for a long time. I had an Instagram post about it. Because I went down a rabbit hole one night. And I was like, what? Like, they just scrambled people's brains. And there was all these ads. Like, smiley people afterwards, happy people afterwards. Just scramble your fucking brain with an iron rod that they push through your eyeball. The eldest Kennedy daughter. Wow.
Behind the Special Olympics.
Wow. Yeah, man. Dude, brains are just like everything else. There's just like some people have bad livers. In their search for cures, November 1941, Mr. Kennedy arranged to have a lobotomy performed on Rosemary. It was immediately clear that the operation had drastically failed. Rosemary had lost most of her ability to walk or talk. Her personality had been forever altered, and she was left physically disabled. After being released from the hospital, Rosemary was immediately institutionalized.
There's a story I've read about the doctor. There's like one doctor who was doing a lot of the lobotomies. He was traveling around to all the asylums and like doing.
Yeah, I read about that guy. He loved it. He loves selling brains. I mean, what a fucking remember when you used to whack the TV to get the signal to come in? No, like we would be watching TV. You'd be watching like a baseball game, and you'd go, what the fuck? You'd smack the TV, and it would come back in. Yeah, you got it. Like that's how bad electronics were back then. You would smack the TV, and sometimes it would fix it. Like sometimes it was like going up. It was just like blip, blip. The screen would go up, and you just whack the side of it, and it would stay still. So
I remember.
Remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Antennas.
that was their version of fixing brains. It was just like whacking a TV. They're just like, let's just scramble his brains.
Yeah.
And they would go in through your eyeball.
Oh.
That's what they go through. They pull your eyeball aside. Yeah, they pull your eyeball aside. Excuse me. Out of the way. I got to shove a metal in there. And just, they'd get in the brain. They get in your frontal lobe and just go like this.
Stop. No.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Oh, God.
Bro. Imagine thinking that's a good idea. I know how to fix it, everybody. What was like the most successful lobotomy? Did anybody get a lobotomy and like, wow, that one fucking worked? Like, is there, well, Google what's the most successful lobotomy?
Would that be like someone came out a genius afterwards?
Yeah, somebody came out the most amazing guy.
No way.
No way.
Ow.
But there has to be one like best case scenario. Like this might work. Like one guy, maybe they only scrambled him a little. Like Roseanne got hit by a car, became a great comedian. Kinnison hit by a car, became a great comedian. Like there's a little bit of brain damage, not bad for you.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a touch, just a thud.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Everybody needs a
little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I had so many wrestling in school.
The last person who had one died in 1967.
That's when enough.
Yeah.
I barely missed that.
They also
if I was
figured
born
out
in 57, I would have got lobotomized.
Antipsychotic medication.
If I was 57 with the wrong parents, 100%, they would like scramble his brains.
Yeah.
Or if I was born with the wrong parents, they would have put me on Prozac for sure. For sure, they would have put me on some sort of ADHD medicine.
This is the best I'm getting is like their claims of improvement.
They reported 63% of their patients had improved, while 24% saw no change, and 14% became worse. Oh. That guy looks pretty good afterwards. The beginning looks like he's like taking a horrible shit. Like, oh, God! And the afterward, he's like, I get it now.
That's what they were just like, they were agitated before, and then afterwards they were smiling.
Yeah,
It's like, okay,
smiling. Yeah, so it worked, but it seems like a very crude idea. Maybe, now, that one's a weird one. That one, they cut the top of that dude's head off. Oof, that was a rough one. Oh, Jesus Christ, they're going through the nose on that lady.
That guy's wearing a muscle
that's
shirt.
her eye. That's her eye.
Whoo, it's her eye? Oh,
Yeah.
Christ.
Her nose is
I
huge.
hope she's out cold.
Why don't those
Definitely
guys have leaves?
Yeah, they probably, the way everyone's holding her, she might not have been out.
She's
They probably barely put people out back then. They're fucking crazy.
You could probably watch videos of some of this.
Oh, don't make me watch videos of it. All right, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he says. Prefrontal lobotomy, psychological cinema, prefrontal lobotomy, and chronic schizophrenia from the psychiatric department.
625.
So this is the lady, female, age 25. Can you say state hospital patient for over 4 years, failure to improve after several courses of both insulin and convulsive shock. Wow, the shock therapy back then. Showing antagonistic hostility reaction in seclusion quarters prior to bilateral prefrontal lobotomy. Bilateral. Bilateral prefrontal lobotomy. They're like, this bitch is so crazy, we're going to give her a double dose. She seems like someone in the audience at Kill Tony, like a regular person.
Yeah, she's not bad.
2 months post-operative, now friendly and cooperative, entering into occupational and recreational activities. Let's see what she looks like now.
Oh, this is going to other people.
Oh, to other people. Oh, there she is now. Now she's all laughing because her fucking brain scrambled. Now her hair's all fucked up.
It's crazy, though, that your brain can be scrambled and you can still function. Like, that seems to...
Well, you barely function. But that's the thing. Like, people have been shot in the head and they lose, like, half their head and they still talk.
Right.
There's a lot of weird stuff that happens to people with their brain. Your brain, when one part of your brain gets damaged, the other part of your brain seems to have an ability to recover. There's this one guy. See if you can find this story. This one guy developed fluid in his brain when he was young, and they drained it. So they installed some sort of a thing that drained the fluid from his brain. And once they did that, as he got older, he got another MRI, and they realized his brain was missing. He only had the outside area of the brain, and he had like a 75 IQ, but he was fully functioning with the entire center of his brain gone. You see the MRI, you're like, what in the fuck? The guy has no brain. You know, like, oh, that fucking guy has no brain. That's him. He actually has no brain. Like, you got to leave him alone. It's not his fault. It's literally gone. So he developed some sort of fluid, and they put something in there. I forget where it drained to. But then over time, you know, his symptoms went away, but his brain went away too. Like, whatever that fluid was in his brain, it was like, took over the whole brain.
Oh, God.
See if you can find that.
I mean, it's called hydrocephalus when there's brain, too much cerebral fluid, cerebrospinal fluid, excess cerebrospinal fluid.
Yeah, this dude
I know it's not coming up though.
Had no brain. And they were talking about how different parts of your brain just make up for what's missing.